A joke was made about some form of soup.
Hello there, and welcome to the If It Swims podcast, the multi-species angling podcast. I am Brett Bolton. Joining me for episode 13 is Dave Spear.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, Dave, how's it going, man?
It's going great.
Good to hear. This month, we're discussing some recent fishing trips and looking at some fishing news. Following that, we have a short discussion about some upcoming If It Swims sponsored tournament type things. But we do like to start off our angling podcast with some angling. That said, Dave, you been lately?
I have been.
I know.
Something got weird with me, and I decided to go fishing. Now, you know what it was? We had a full week and a half of warm up in Austin. And this was shortly after we recorded our last episode. It was right around Christmas time. Mm-hmm. And I just went, the purpose was to go purse jerking. And that's mostly what I did, with ultralight equipment.
Sure. But
I got into a couple of good ponds. One of them was a pond full of baby Steves. I caught 27 bass. In
27.
It was in 75 minutes or something. They were all, 2 or 3 of them were bigger, but all the rest of them were almost exactly 4.5 inches long.
Man, there's a lot of those little 4.5 inches out there, aren't there? Are we throwing conventional or little flies?
Yeah, conventional. Okay. I was throwing little jigs that I'd ordered, all the way down to 1/80th of an ounce.
Whoa.
On 4-pound line.
You have a reel to throw those?
Yeah. Well, specifically.
Nice. Well, if you go to Florida, take it.
Yeah.
Because I would like to see a 5-pound peacock on it.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. I bought 2. This goes back a couple of years ago when I wanted to take my granddaughter fishing for the first time, which I finally did. But I started scouting out ponds, and what I wanted was ultralight gear that we could just perch jerk. So I did a bunch of research, and I have 2 setups that are 4-pound line and the smallest spinning reel they make, and they're a lot of fun.
Yeah. How small do those rods break down? Do they?
One of them is a travel rod that breaks down into 3 or 4 pieces. Nice. I'll bring it with me on any trips I go on. The other one's not.
Does it stay in your truck all the time?
No, and that's just because I got a thing about leaving mono in trucks. I don't know.
Well,
it's probably okay.
Just change it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Rather have to change it than not have it with you, right?
That's true. And I say I was throwing 1/80th ounce jigs. I only threw those a little bit. I was mostly throwing 64th, but I'm also throwing a weighted bobber, that probably weighs 1/10 of an ounce or something.
I see.
Because I discovered when I was perch jerking, you know very well, I'm not, I don't have a big background in conventional tackle. And true. I discovered when I was perch jerking that, that the fish really wanted it on the paws, just like when I fly fish. Mm-hmm. But I was fishing a really shallow pond close to home that's full of just junk, moss, grass, whatever. But sure. It really that green sludgy stuff.
Yeah, I know the stuff.
And so I decided to try throwing under a bobber to control the depth more than anything, not really as a strike indicator.
Right.
And I just kind of have stuck with that. It makes it way easier to cast the ultralight rig. And then I can be 12 inches under the surface or 8 or whatever.
Yeah. The jig under the float is not an often used technique, but it is a fantastic way to control depth, isn't it?
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Yeah. My dad always did that in the springtime. When he was fishing for crappie up in the creeks, there was crappie, always a jig under a float. And it works great.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Yeah. And it's fantastic for taking 5-year-olds too. So.
It really is. And that also, you're already rigged up too. If you have to switch to a piece of gulp, You're already ready.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, man.
Have you got out to fish?
A little bit. I've had a couple of trips this month. The most fun and the most species-centric came a few weeks ago when I was headed down to deep East Texas, basically on some bayous that feed into Caddo Lake. I was down there doing a photography project I've been working on, and while I was there, I had some extra time, so I took a 2-weight and some clousers I tied up on number 10 hooks.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm not sure they're even clousers at this point, right? They're just weighted streamers. Anyway, so I spent a couple days hitting some little creeks and bayous down there just to see what sort of stuff I could find. I didn't catch any new species, but in some of those dark waters out there, I found a few black crappie, some steves, and a lot of miscellaneous sunfish.
Steves.
Steves. I was hoping none of them big, about the same as yours, little 4 to 5 inches, I was hoping for some sunfish I hadn't caught before, but nothing of the sort. But I did manage to sight cast a few, by a few, I mean 3 or 4, river carp suckers.
Oh, fantastic.
Every spot that was feeding little creeks, every spot that had a shallow, I guess, outside curve of the creek, there were 2 or 3 sitting up there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They don't get very big anyway. And they eat just like a buffalo or just like a carp, but it was kind of fun to catch a few. I'd caught one before on the fly rod. So
yeah, I caught one years and years ago on a fly rod, but I found them at least trying to target them to be too picky, or I didn't know what I was doing. Something.
Well, there's that too. I was extremely lucky that day.
Yeah,
you know how that goes. Some days you're there and it's perfect,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think I got 4 total over that weekend. It was kind of cool just to see those guys. I'm not that good at buffalo on the fly rod either. They're
a lot
hard. Pickier than carp, aren't they?
Yeah, they're hard too.
Yeah. It wasn't an amazing trip, and I was only fishing part-time, but it was fun to be in those weird little creeks in the middle of nowhere in that weird tannin-stained, super clear but iced tea colored water.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. I like that out there. It is odd looking but pretty.
Yeah, you fished Caddo a few times, I believe, too, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been many years, but I've had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, I wasn't fishing Caddo, but there's a couple of bayous that feed it. I couldn't tell you the name of them to save my life at this point. I guess a bayou is just a creek when you're that far east, right?
Yeah.
But there were signs that said such and such bayou, but I looked at it. It was just a creek. I don't know what the difference is.
Right? I don't either.
Oh, man, that's funny.
They make better folk songs about bayous. And by folk, I mean like stuff that includes accordions and banjos and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Some good Zydeco music. Yeah. You don't mean Born in the Bayou, right?
Well, I mean, I love, I like that song too. I'm a CCR fan,
Where are they from?
California.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, they're from California.
Just checking.
That's my brush with.
Not on the Bayou?
Not on the Bayou. That's my minor brush to fame. So my grandmother babysat the Fogarty boys when they were growing up. Yes.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's a weird story. You have any?
It is a weird story. I got nothing more than that.
That's good enough. It's good enough.
My dad had a bunch of their records, and I found out why. A, they were good, and B, there was a little bit of a story behind it.
There is. Yeah, that's interesting. All right. That's 2 trips. That's pretty good for us. So, fishing news. I've got one from KXLG in South Dakota. Gage Collignon, an angler from Watertown, has tied the state record for the European rudd. Exactly. Collignon caught the fish just east of Watertown on January 17th while ice fishing overnight with a friend. About 7:15 a.m., Collignon noticed his bobber was gone and reeled in a rudd Having never seen the species before, he measured and weighed the fish, suspecting it could be a record. After fishing a few hours more, Collignon headed into town to consult a fisheries biologist. The biologist recognized the fish and advised that for the record, it should be weighed on a certified scales. At Hy-Vee, which I guess is a grocery store.
It is. Grocery
Nice.
store chain.
By the way, I've mentioned this before. I love reading the weird places that records are weighed.
Yeah.
It's grocery stores, post offices. It's really weird.
Oh, yeah.
At Hy-Vee, the rudd weighed 2 pounds and 9.9 ounces, tying the previous record. So apparently they've been caught there before. Short story, but did you even know there were rudd in North Dakota?
Okay, so I have to admit that I didn't know what a rudd was. But the fact that you said a European rudd, we're sitting here at computers recording a podcast. So I hit the Google immediately. And I can tell you that after seeing the picture, I'm like, okay, I would have never, had I caught one of these, I guess if I caught one that was 2 pounds, I might have been excited. But had I caught one of these, I would have been like, oh, I don't know. I caught some kind of shiner shad.
It's a weird looking carp. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the majority of anglers, just by statistics, right,
Sure.
Not by ability or anything else, would call it a carp. And then semi-serious anglers, people that get out at least 30 something times a year or more, would probably call it a shad or a shiner.
Yeah,
it looks like a cross between a shad and a carp.
Yeah, well, or a big golden shiner and a carp.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, golden shiners and carp are both minnows with the rudd.
Well, there you go.
So yeah.
Or a skipjack, right? Skipjack herring, which is something I used to catch in. I guess it's a different kind of fish, but that's kind of what it looks like.
I think herring and shad are related. I know they are. Yeah. But yeah, it's a big minnow. But I didn't know they were in the States at all, and I certainly didn't know there was a nearly 2.5 bar. There's a 2.5 pound record for them. I kind of want to catch one.
Those dang Europeans have invaded our country, and now they're invading our water.
Now they brought their fish with them.
Yeah.
Do you read any news, Dave?
I got just a little feel-good story.
Nice. I like those.
Right? It's Aussie, Australian, right? So an Aussie fisherman's sensational photograph inspires a new story. Mm-hmm. An Aussie angler's photo that was so odd it surprised the world is now the subject of a children's story.
Wow.
The short illustrated book recreates the moment the man hooked a large fish and discovered a bewildered green frog hiding inside its mouth.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
And I'm wondering if hiding is in air quotes, or if this fish ate this frog.
The fish ate the frog, and it happened to still be in there when it was caught.
Right. It says, after the picture went viral on social media, it became a sensation and was featured on the Today Show in the United States, and several pages were dedicated to it in a Russian newspaper. The photographer Angus James rejected offers to sell the rights in 2014 and quietly held on to them for a decade, thinking he'd eventually find a creative purpose for it. Then, as his wife Amy James recovered from the birth of their first child, she began writing a short poem about the famous frog and fish. My baby refused to sleep in a crib, so I was nap-trapped, sitting with him on me. The phone was dead, and I was bored, so I started to write, she told Yahoo News. The poem started forming in my mind, so I wrote it down and I shared it with Angus. So this article goes on to say, what happened to the fish and the frog? Well, the hardest part of bringing the story to life was finding the right illustrator, because Amy was determined to find someone who could capture the frog's personalities.
Or sheer fright.
Yeah. I'm imagining that the cartoons with the big bulging eyes and,
Right.
Having grown up close to where the fish was caught, she was familiar with the landscape and wanted it to capture the magical world she remembered from her childhood. At the heart of the story is a message about not giving up. While the frog probably thought its days were numbered after it was swallowed, The tiny amphibian was saved by the fisherman who released both it and the fish. Angus hooked the large jungle perch close to the far north Queensland town of Tully. A large storm was moving in, and he believes the frog was likely swallowed during a feeding frenzy. It was being pretty greedy and took my lure, even though it had a mouthful of frog, he told the news.
It's my kind of fish.
Right? It does have a cute picture that comes with it, and I guess it must be the original picture, and you can tell that the frog legs are probably past the throat.
Sure.
But the two front arms are pushing on either side of this perch. It looks like a bass to me, but this perch's mouth, and it's a green, very green frog, like green, lime green.
That's super cool. I bet it's a cool looking picture.
Yeah.
I'll drop it on the webpage and drop a link in the show notes as well, or at least,
there you go.
At least a link to the story so other folks can see that picture as well. That's a cool, fun story, Dave. Thanks, man.
Well, some of them are funny. This one was kind of a nice little feel good.
Some of them are really strange, right?
Yeah. Well, there's been that.
So, folks, podcasts are supposed to evolve as they go on. Therefore, coming soon to this space will be discussion and updates on If It Swims fishing contests. The first one up is the Carp Ladder that we've mentioned on this podcast a few times previously. This will be a minimal prize contest, mostly for bragging rights, but we will have something from one of our sponsors. It will run for a pretty long period of time due to the nature of the contest itself, catching common carp on increasingly difficult baits, starting with the likes of bread and canned corn, advancing to some very unusual, potentially downright stupid baits.
Now, I remember us talking about this.
Oh, yeah.
A joke was made about some form of soup.
You made a joke about soup, which was absolutely bizarre.
I just, when you were talking about impossible, I was trying to think of things that might actually be impossible.
It's pretty much impossible, yes. We, If It Swims, will participate in these contests, but we'll just skip any prizes. But we're just there for the fun of it anyway.
Well, of course.
Yeah. I mean, and we're going to do it because it's fun. I'm expecting to launch this on March 1st with more info coming in the next episode. It should be a lot of fun. I'm not the first guy on this podcast to fish with bait, but I'm not the last either. that falls to Dave. But I'll be jumping in. Dave?
Well, there you go.
Will you?
Oh, I'll probably do it. I think it sounds like a ton of fun, and I'm already. I mean, don't get the dollar signs on my eyeballs rolling here with our 5 million listeners or anything, but I'm already imagining the merch. I'm starting to think of images of carp on ladders. Just the idea of a carp on a ladder already makes me a little giddy.
Yes, and actually, as you recall, I've done large-scale contests before based on different species and this kind of stuff, and there's usually a small little printed image that goes with them. I think
that's right.
In the same way, we're going to do T-shirts.
Gotcha.
Pick up the T-shirt, and you're in.
There you go.
And obviously, wear it while you're in the middle of the contest, because otherwise,
there you go.
We'll know where the fish came from. Yeah.
I can't wait to quit my job. This is going to make so much dough.
This is not going to do anything at all. But go ahead. What it's going to do is make a lot of wacky pictures and a lot of frustrated humans.
Oh yeah, no, I'm all into the wacky pictures and frustrated humans. I know all about being a frustrated human when it comes to fishing or fishing contests or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
I
got one more thing for us, Dave. We've gotten some feedback. You want it?
Yeah.
Well, the answer is might be no. You never know.
Fire those guys and get somebody on here that knows what they're talking about.
Oh, that's an excellent point. The problem is no one will work for as cheap as us.
Oh, well, there is that. Guys, I actually buy my own beer that I open at the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah, I don't provide it. So here's my first one. We have two pieces. It says, "Hello, If It Swims group. My name is Dave." Is this you?
Nope.
Okay. From Homestead, Florida. And I just wanted to say thank you for your podcast. I'm 32 years old, and because of y'all, I'm getting back into fishing.
Oh, man.
You see, I grew up fishing with my dad and my uncles, but at some point in my teenage or early 20s, I became too cool for that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all's podcast and associated Instagram feed has gotten me to rethink that and recognize the foolishness of that belief. The three of you seem to have made fishing cool again. It probably always was, but I'm just now catching on. Your humor and recognition of species and conservation is a great balance. Keep up the good work. Tight lines, Dave W.
Man, that is fantastic.
No kidding. Isn't that awesome?
And, coming from a fellow Dave, I could not agree with you more. I mean, Dave's pretty much know what's going on. So
go.
I can say that we got to give this guy his due. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. You came to fishing a bit late in life. Is that correct? Yourself?
Kind of not. I mean, as far as a total obsession, yeah.
But did you fish as a youth and then bail on it and come back?
A little bit. It was more like we didn't fish. My family didn't fish a lot growing up.
Okay.
I caught my first fish when I was 5. My grandpa
Sure.
took me. And we fished a little. I grew up in Montana. We fished a little bit. We threw inline spinners, Panther Martins, I believe,
Oh, nice.
for trout when we were backcountry hiking.
Okay.
We'd hike up and go somewhere and catch trout. But we didn't do it a lot. And so, I probably, and then I picked up fishing again at about 21. So there's probably a few years there where I didn't fish.
Yeah.
And I actually I don't know why, but I somehow got interested. I think I saw somebody doing it and I got interested in fly fishing and I picked up fly fishing and I didn't touch conventional tackle again until I was like 35.
Yeah, till fairly recently, but until you were pretty dedicated fly only for a long, long time.
Yeah. And it was none of it was like any kind of a religious, this is better thing. It was what I fell in love with. And then that was the gear I had. And so I learned how to catch all the fish I wanted to catch on fly rods.
Yeah, it's exactly. It wasn't a snobby decision completely. It wasn't.
Well,
It wasn't. Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't a this is the proper way or anything else. It was just the way that you just did things.
Yeah. I think part of it was, especially when I first started fishing a lot, I think just the act of fly casting and some of the, call it snobbery, call it minutia, but some of the minutia of just like, these tapered leaders at the end of your fly line and some of the gear and stuff, it kept me busy so I wouldn't get bored. I couldn't just sit on a bank with a hook and a bait.
Right.
At that time in my life.
Right.
I can now with the right company.
That's a different story then anyway.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
But there's something to that, And actually I can now with my phone.
Yeah, well.
Or some days when I used to work from home or work remotely, I've been known to use my tailgate as a desk.
Yep.
And throw out some lines and work from there, but that's fun. Oh, I've got one more too. You want to hear this one?
Oh yeah. This will be the opposite of Dave W.
This is Bret W. Really weird how this worked out.
Oh.
No, it's not. I'm kidding. The subject is thanks for keeping me hooked. Oh, a little pun there.
Nice.
Dear If It Swims podcast, just wanted to say a huge thank you for keeping my ears entertained and my brain slightly more knowledgeable, or at least more interesting at parties. Your podcast reels me in every time. It's two for one on the puns.
All right.
I appreciate the laughs, the insights, and the fact that you somehow managed to make toilet seats in the Florida Keys sound absolutely riveting. Keep doing what you do, because if it swims, I'm listening. Cheers, George S., Cardiff, Wales.
Cardiff, Wales.
The only thing about Cardiff is that's where Doctor Who takes place for the most part.
Okay.
Or at least when it's on Earth.
I didn't recognize that city, and so I was thinking 3 words, Card of Wales.
No, Cardiff.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cardiff.
Sorry. Yeah.
Wales.
At least someone's heard this thing.
That's right. I knew that it wasn't just going to be my one buddy Dave from Homestead, Florida.
Yeah, your buddy Dave.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's cool. So I usually mention this later, but guys, if you want to shoot us a note or anything, please do so. We will definitely read them. Even if you tell us how much we suck, we will read it.
Oh, I mean, probably if you tell us how much you suck, it's going to be the concept of the whole show.
You're probably right.
It'll give something serious to do.
Yes, I can't wait.
Besides listening to Bret pronounce Latin. I mean, that's also was a good part of our previous evolution.
Which is the main reason that Fish of the Month is gone.
No,
it's really
no.
Not.
It's because we hit all the funny nicknames. There's no more funny nicknames in the world.
I'm sure there's a few, but we hit all the funny nicknames, and that is the main reason it's gone.
Yep.
Oh man. So before we head out, Dave, anything you want to share?
Oh man. We are at the end of January in Texas, and sob story for us. It's coldish compared to some other parts of the world.
Did you get snow?
We got a little snow.
Okay.
Snow angels were made.
I know that down on the coast they got snow.
We got significantly less snow than they got in Houston.
Yeah.
But that's because Austin's dry. The weather patterns keep Austin relatively dry, and Houston, of course, is the opposite of dry.
But man, I saw a picture from the place where I fish the coast the most, which is at the border of Louisiana and Texas and water. And there was like 4 inches of snow on the beach. It was a weird sight. I kind of wish I was there for it.
I mean, one of those, if you're already there, right? You're already there. You're already cold. You're like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Let's never book this trip again this time of year, but this is cool.
I mean, it's probably good the rest of it for the next 20 years. Don't worry about it.
Well, so what I was going to say is we're at the end of January. We are in the absolute, if you can say that. Now, there's very hardcore people, but we're at the absolute worst time of year for fishing in Texas.
True.
The water is about as cold as it's ever going to get.
Yep.
It might drop another degree through February before it starts warming up. But on the other hand, spring comes fast.
It does, doesn't it?
Stuff starts happening in those creeks and rivers and lakes in an awful hurry. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to be there to see it in the next couple of weeks, but I guarantee you in the next month or so, it's going to be on.
It is. I can't wait for it. Oh man, finally. And when we talk about how cold it is, it's not so much me or Dave, but it's the fish that live here don't like it. And it's the same, the largemouth bass, the crappie, the same species that are up north. But the ones that live here don't like it.
That's true.
And they go hide.
And I don't like it either. I will say, in general, this time of year is not bad for things like camping and some outdoor stuff. It's a little bit, we get cold fronts that are a little bit chilly, but yeah, it's just bad for the fish. It's warm, fish are cold-blooded animals, and this is the slowest their digestive systems will be for the entire year.
Right. A note real quick. There's almost no small podcast that doesn't ask for ratings or, even better, telling a friend about it. I guess we're no different. So do what you can if you can. We are on the web at ifitswims.com and on Instagram at if_it_swims. All links to find us are available in the show notes, along with items covered this month. Our music was written for us by Dallas artist Jeff Hewitt. Join us again next month, and as always, we will see you out there.